Welcome, and all aboard my engineers. Next stop, ConceptLand. On this trip, we will be traveling right down the middle of Mainstreet, USA, to see what parts were left out of its magical plan. The original Mainstreet, USA, based on Walt's hometown of Marceline, Missouri, was opened with Disneyland on July 17, 1955. Although this is the first time we got to experience this incredible opening area, it is not the first time it was planned for one of Walt's projects. Parts of what we now have on Main Street were first visualized by John Hench when making concept art for Mickey Mouse Park, a small family amusement park that was planned to be across the street from Walt Disney Studios. From this park, Main Street would take the train station connecting the park, small town shops, a town hall, police station, and fire station. These would be implemented into the final Disneyland in different ways than Mickey Mouse Park plans had intended. The railroad would move its station from the middle of the park to the front of Main Street. The shops would move from a more circular layout to the straight road with shops on each side. The fire station would stay mostly the same with the addition of Walt's apartment on the second story, and the town hall would take the use of the police station with its focus on lost children and items, and would move from the front to the left side of the entrance past the train station next to the fire station. Once Walt moved towards a full-day theme park to fit all of his ideas, most, if not all, of the concept art and models made for Disneyland had Main Street as we have it now, with one little addition. In the early Disneyland concept art, Walt had the idea for International Land to go between Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. The best example today of what this was supposed to be is Epcot's World Showcase, just scaled down. It would then be scaled down even further during the last year of production. They decided to take the land and move it to be a side street off of Main Street. Once Disneyland opened, there was a wall blocking off the area for the new development set to be the first Disneyland expansion. Cut out of this wall was a peephole to look into the new area, which was just some glass covering the model. International Street was meant to be a recreation of areas all around Europe with different shops and restaurants. Seeing the difficulty of fitting an accurate depiction of all of these places into the small footprint, Walt decided to change the idea. Around 1956, International Street would be changed into Liberty Street, and was set to open the next year but was pushed to 1958, and then 1959, then 1960, and well, you get the point. This area would be heavily influenced by Johnny Tremaine's Boston, which would also influence the Walt Disney film The Boston Tea Party. As guests walked down the cobblestone streets, they would be treated to all the sights and sounds of the era with the attempt of accurate shops and restaurants. In the initial plans, there was one attraction called the Hall of the Declaration of Independence. This was a show that featured 3 scenes based on iconic paintings from the Revolutionary era that came to life to tell their story. The other attraction that was planned in later concepts was the Hall of Presidents and would primarily feature an animatronic of George Washington. He would tell the story of American history with a reveal of the other 33 presidents, at the time, in animatronic form. It was because of the work that WED Enterprises was doing on this show that led to great moments with Mr. Lincoln. Walt was giving a tour to the New York World's Fair promoter when they came across the unfinished animatronic of Abraham Lincoln. The promoter loved it and convinced Walt to create a show just around Lincoln for the fair, and Walt agreed. After the success of the show in New York, it was moved into the Main Street Opera House and has been there ever since. Some of these ideas would find themselves being used in Florida for Walt Disney World, and led to the creation of Liberty Square and an altered Hall of Presidents. Going back to 1956, General Electric's lamp division wanted to sponsor some sort of attraction at Disneyland revolving around electricity and progress. Walt took a liking to the idea and started to come up with Edison Square to be placed in a backstage area around where the Plaza Inn restaurant is today, and it was set to open in 1958. The area was to feel as if you had gone from the 19th century Main Street to the 1900s. With horses being replaced by buggies and gaslight lamps to be electric. The look of the buildings within this cul-de-sac were to resemble turn-of-the-century New York, Chicago, and San Francisco, with a statue of Thomas Edison in the center. Without any shops or restaurants, this new area would rely on its 4-act show harnessing the light. which would be a walkthrough attraction that followed a family through 4 distinct time periods: 1898, 1918, 1958, when it was set to premiere, and 19-something-8, an unknown year of the future. As you went through the show, the family would explain the cumbersomes and luxuries of the technology of their time, with a heavy use of GE products. Along with the family, you would have a robotic host named Mr. Wilbur K. Watt, who would even be landing on Venus in the future section. Along with this, the building would contain a prologue showing 5 scenes of Edison and his inventions, and an epilogue of GE products. With the cost of this area rising, and with GE getting into their own financial trouble at the time, the idea got scrapped, with only an idea of a gay 90s square area to take its place, with that getting scrapped just as quickly as it was considered. GE would later commission Walt on a project for the New York World's Fair. This project became the Carousel of Progress and would take heavy inspiration from Harnessing the Lightning, to become a smash hit, and be taken back to Disneyland with It's a Small World, The Primeval World, and of course, great moments with Mr. Lincoln, to then be moved to Walt Disney World where it resides today. Now, as we turn into the station, I'd like to remind you to follow our Instagram and Twitter, where we post updates and polls about our next destination. As you leave the train, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that YouTube tells you the next time this train leaves for ConceptLand. Thank you all for coming aboard, and I'll see you real soon.